738 WCRF Mornings with Brian. Ooh, a closer view of me on YouTube right now. Daria zoomed in. I don't blame you for this. If you're just tuning in and haven't heard about it,
I don't blame
we're
you.
streaming live on YouTube and on Facebook starting today, and we'll continue to do so. For more information, text LIVE to 440-546-2255. Text LIVE to 440-546-2255. And Daria, somebody was asking you on there about like the music, right? They want to know, why aren't you playing the music on there?
The short answer is legally we can't.
Yeah, it's
Facebook
YouTube.
and YouTube will take all our videos down if we play any copyrighted music.
But we have plenty of things happening during songs and stuff on YouTube. So you can, I don't know, switch back and forth or just, I don't know, do something. Who knows? It's not my problem. It's your life.
We use the break to go to the bathroom, so you can as well.
Good idea. Thank you.
With our coffee.
It's also going to be a great way for you to listen back to conversations we have with folks like our guest right now. He is assistant professor of broadcasting, digital media, journalism at Cedarville University. Professor Sean O'Connor, welcome back to the show.
Good morning. Thank you for having me back.
All right. I love what you have for us today. You have your top movies of the last year as a Christian school professor / movie enthusiast, and what to look forward to next year. Let's just jump right to your number one. Your favorite movie of 2023 was Oppenheimer. Why?
Correct. I really enjoyed Oppenheimer. I thought it was a very, surprisingly entertaining film for a 3-hour movie where people talk in rooms about nuclear weapons. I think it builds a lot of suspense, but also goes very deeply into the character of Robert Oppenheimer and the guilt that he might have faced having developed the atomic bomb and the legal proceedings and things that followed that. And from a director like Christopher Nolan, who's done Inception and Interstellar and a bunch of those films, he treats it with a lot of intensity. And I really enjoyed it. It's funny. Last night was the Golden Globe Awards, and Oppenheimer won 5 of them, including Best Drama Film. And I was very happy about that.
Now, to be clear, you're not saying, what a great Christian movie. You're saying that as a film itself and a filmmaker and a film critic, you're saying it was a great movie. What do you say for Christian audiences, though?
Yeah, that's a great point. Oppenheimer is rated R. A lot of my favorite movies from the past year were rated R for various things. And there are some times where I can see that rating and I see why it's rated R, and I'm like, okay, I don't need to see that, or at least I don't need to see that right away. I'll skip it, or I'll wait till it comes out on streaming or DVD or something. Oppenheimer's, it has a couple scenes and a few words here and there that were objectionable, and I can personally say, okay, I can look past those couple moments, and the rest is good for me to watch. There are some people that I think, other Christians, who might feel differently and say it's rated R, I'm going to stay away entirely, and I get that. I think, as we've talked about on the show before, we need to understand our relationship with the Lord and our convictions more than we understand the movie world and how movies work and what's going on and what people are seeing. I think it's important that we prioritize that, and I understand if people have those convictions.
Now, Lauren and I were talking about your number 2 choice. Like, I've never even heard of it. Past Lives? What is this?
Yeah. Past Lives is a much smaller movie than Oppenheimer. It was in a few theaters. It's a Korean-American drama that takes place over 3 time periods as this Korean boy and girl are friends back in Korea, and then one of them has to move to the United States, and over the course of several years they reconnect, and finally as adults they reconnect. And that's an example of a movie. It's rated PG-13 for, I think, like 2 bad words, basically. But it's one of those movies that it's not Christian in its worldview. I think there's a little bit of, I don't want to say Buddhism referenced in the film. It might be that. I might be wrong. But there are still things that in a movie like that a Christian can say. I think it's good that people are reconciling and healing and bringing closure to relationships in a healthy way that the Bible tells us to, even if the movie itself is not biblical in that sense. And that, again, I think it's important that we know what's in the Bible more than we know what's in our favorite movies.
Now, your number 3 choice, I've debated watching this. It's a Martin Scorsese film, Killers of the Flower Moon, because I watched his Netflix movie with De Niro and Pesci, and I thought it was super boring and a big disappointment. Like, what do we do with Killers of the Flower Moon?
Yeah, well, you probably won't like it then because it's very similar in terms of its length and the pacing and things. It's more of a Western. The Irishman, his film for Netflix, was more of a gangster movie, but he's a director who's been working a long time, and his movies now are long and contemplative, and sometimes they're a bit slow, but I think it makes sense why they're slow, because the characters are very pensive and thinking over very big moral decisions. And it takes place in early 1900s as Native American property is being taken and they're being killed, and so there's crime involved in that. And I actually got to see that in the theater. It's coming to Apple TV, I think, in a couple days. But I was very glad to see that in the theater because I think it's some of the best filmmaking you'll see this year. And Martin Scorsese, like Christopher Nolan, there's maybe Christian or at least Catholic themes that you can pick up in their films about atonement and guilt and things like that are addressed that I think Christians can pick up on. Maybe they won't enjoy the movies that much, but I think it's still beneficial.
So I should stop waiting for explosions and fast-moving action scenes and just think a little bit when I watch that?
Yeah, there are a couple explosions, but they're not going to satisfy you for the whole 3.5 hours.
Okay. I do want to jump around on you have your top 10 list. We can't get to all of them this morning of films from last year. The Michael J. Fox movie, was that the documentary he released?
Yes. So a movie it is on Apple TV. It's called Still. It's a documentary on Michael J. Fox, the actor, and his life and his battle with Parkinson's. I thought that was fantastic.
Yes, me too.
It interviews him. It intercuts footage from the movies he was in with reenactments from his real life, and it's sort of this example of art imitating life, life imitating art, as you see him, growing as an actor and then trying to hide his Parkinson's as an actor. And I thought it was fantastic. And another one of those films that it's rated R for some bad words and things, and maybe there's nothing explicitly Christian in there, but there's still messages about how do you deal with pain and illness and family in a way that's healthy, in a way that's biblical, that God calls us to, instead of just isolating ourselves. I think that's important.
I totally agree. His positive attitude he has about his Parkinson's is really admirable. And the transparency in that film that he shows what he's going through and what he's been through is pretty striking. So I agree with you. He's not a Christian, but we certainly could take from his positive approach to his pain. With us right now, Sean O'Connor. He's Assistant Professor of Broadcasting, Digital Media, and Journalism at Cedarville University. For more information, go to cedarville.edu. We're talking about the top movies of 2023 and what to look forward to in the theaters in 2024. I can't miss the chance, since our friend Lauren Cuevas, had all the Barbie things. Like, she had the jet. You had the mansion?
I did. I had the mansion, the airplane, the convertible.
Airplane. It was a jet.
What's the difference?
The engine.
Okay.
Anyway, all that to say, we can't miss the chance to talk about Barbie. You put it on your top list from last year. Why?
I did. I really enjoyed Barbie. I know Christians have had varying opinions on the film, and I think that the tongue-in-cheek nature of the Barbie movie and its satire and things allows, I think, if there are messages surely in that movie about feminism and different things that, depending on where you stand on those issues, you could take either as straightforward messaging or satire. And it's still, I thought, very funny. It was funnier the first time than the second, but I still enjoyed it. And I think it's a film that's really well done. I like the fact they used real sets and not a lot of computer graphics to create the world of Barbie Land. They created a pink paint shortage when they were making the set. That's how extravagant the sets were in the studio. I thought it was very entertaining, so I enjoyed it.
And if I'm not mistaken, Lauren, it brought you to tears, just with the memories. No?
I just said to you in the break I didn't see it.
Oh, that's right. I forgot. Okay. What to look forward to in 2024 in the box office. I want to go through some of these. Your number one pick and what you're looking forward to is such a nerdy choice, and I love it for that because I, too, am looking forward to this. Dune Part 2. Do tell.
Right. So Dune, based on a sci-fi book written a while back, it had a Part 1 movie that came out a couple years ago, and Part 2 was supposed to come out in November, but because all the actors and the writers were on strike last year. It and a bunch of other movies got pushed back to this year, and so I'm looking forward to finally seeing it. There are a lot. It's going to be interesting to see what the movies and the box office looks like this year, because the strikes from this past year delayed a bunch of movies being made, and we saw a lot of movies last year, like the Indiana Jones movie and some of the Marvel movies, not make as much money as I think people wanted them to make. And so I don't know if that's because audiences' tastes are changing, but there are still a lot of superhero movies and sequels and things coming out this year that I'm curious how they're going to do and what's going to be the best. They're the most money-making movies of this coming year.
Now, Lauren had one on this list that she's mentioned like 6 times that she's excited about.
Inside Out?
Yeah, Inside Out has a sequel coming out, and it's your number 2 pick. All right, so why?
It is. I'm excited. I mean, Disney and Pixar, I grew up on Toy Story and Finding Nemo and those movies, and I will always go see what they put out. And their output in the last few years has been hit or miss with me, but I liked Inside Out a lot, and I'm curious to see what they do with a sequel. Apparently, there's a third Incredibles movie coming out by the end of the year, too. Oh. I don't know how that's going to be, but I'll check it out.
No, I'm disappointed in one of your choices here, Professor O'Connor. Because I think the last thing the world needs is another Lion King movie, and you put it as your number 4. Mufasa? What is this?
Yeah, so, I mean, people don't like the live action or the newly animated Lion King movie with the realistic-looking animals, but it made over $1 billion, and so, of course, they're going to make another movie based on it. And this is sort of a, like, Maleficent, Wicked-style story of Mufasa and his, I guess, it's like a prequel to how he became Mufasa as we know him in The Lion King. And it could be bad, but there are some filmmakers behind it that I think are very talented, and I'm curious to see what they do with it. And, Disney's been hit or miss the last several years, and who knows what could happen, but I'm at least going to keep my eye on it.
Yeah, I wonder if they're going to have any new ideas in the next century. Do you think?
Well, as long as we keep paying to see the live-action remakes and the sequels, they what reason do they have to make original films? And they had an original movie last year called Wish that nobody saw, or at least not many people saw. So I think it's important that we, especially as Christians, if we're interested in certain movies and we want certain movies to be made, it's important that we pay to see them, because that motivates studios to say, oh, they will go see this original film, or they will go see, in the case of Oppenheimer, a really long movie that's very talky and R-rated and things. Or in the case of a movie like Sound of Freedom last year, people didn't expect it to make, $200 million at the box office. And so, of course, we're going to get movies like it in the future.
Yeah, and we seem to be in an era of reboots and prequels and sequels that nobody asks for. So is it simply a reflection of box office results that we keep going to these things, or what's that about?
That's a big part of it. And I think, too, the fact that a lot of the movies that are coming out right now, like the Indiana Jones sequel, were planned before COVID, and a bunch of money was already spent on them during the pandemic. It's like, well, now the interest is lost, but we have no choice but to just move forward and make this and see how it does. And it's actually led to a couple movies either, not doing well at the box office or just being canceled before they're released. There was I think, Batwoman movie on HBO Max that was supposed to come out that they just canceled before finishing it. And that's been a point of debate for a while. So it's a long process to make a movie. And so it's some of the decisions that are being made about what movies to make. Now I'm thinking that some studios are saying, I really wish we hadn't spent $300 million making this movie that nobody ended up seeing.
And now one of my favorite movies of all time is Gladiator. Maximus! Amazing film. I'm a little concerned that the sequel coming out this year, Russell Crowe hasn't looked in the best shape, but perhaps you can encourage me in this. You're looking forward to it?
Yeah, who knows what it could be like, but I'm curious to see what it is like. But it's Russell Crowe is not in it, but I think the movie's about his son in the movie, or some kind of relative of his character who's grown up and is now probably avenging certain things that I don't want to spoil. But It's from a lot of the same people that made the first Gladiator, and they can be hit or miss with me too, but I'm interested to see what they do with it.
Now, we have a couple of explicitly Christian movies coming out this year. The first one I want to hear from you about is Cabrini and Bonhoeffer. I've heard of Bonhoeffer. Who is Cabrini?
Right. So Angel Studios, the company that put out Sound of Freedom, they are releasing at least a couple of movies this coming year. One of them is about a Catholic missionary, Francesca Xavier Cabrini, and having not really been familiar with the story myself, I don't want to talk much about it, but I'm interested to see what they do with it. And they are also releasing a film at the end of this year about Dietrich Bonhoeffer, which I am interested in seeing that. I love his story and curious to see what they do with that too.
Now, here's one of my honest concerns, and people can get mad at me if they want, but a biopic or biopic, however you say it, of Bonhoeffer, I would love to see that. I'm a little concerned about that in the hands of Christian filmmakers because quality isn't our strong suit in cinematography.
Sure. It's interesting. From what I remember, there are at least a couple filmmakers behind the Bonhoeffer movie that have, they're not amateurs, they're very talented behind the camera, and so that gives me hope. But again, I think that's the reason why, as Christians, if we see something come out that we believe in terms of its worldview and its messaging, it's a tough thing to ask. Do we want to see a movie that's not really that good, but it affirms what we believe? The truth is, if we do go see those movies and they do well and encourages other filmmakers and studios to make more movies like them at better quality than those other movies. So, for instance, there's a movie coming out in August from the same people that made the movies Fireproof and War Room and those films. It's called The Forge. And, those films have grown in quality as time has gone on, and I think that's because people believed in them and they wanted to see more of those movies, and so they've been given a lot more resources and money and time to make movies of better quality.
Now, just for clarity's sake, is it biopic or biopic?
I think it's biopic. Yeah, it's a movie about a real life person is a biopic.
Biopic. Okay, because we have another biopic coming out, Unsung Hero, and it's a Christian movie. Yeah. Tell us about it. Yes,
so Kingdom Story Company, which is the studio behind Jesus Revolution last year and a bunch of other films, they have a couple coming out actually in the next few months. One is called Ordinary Angels. It comes out next month with Hilary Swank. And then Unsung Hero is a biopic about the family that launched Rebecca St. James and Joel and Luke Smallbone from For King and Country. They made a movie about their family's journey from Australia to the United States and the ups and downs that they saw. And both of those films were, I'm excited that both of those films had Cedarville graduates working on them, and they're coming out in theaters in the next few months.
Tell us more about that. Cedarville graduates, what was their role in the film?
One in particular was the editor on both films, which is the person who takes all the footage that's shot from the movie and chooses how it's arranged and what shots follow each other and the pacing and those things. It's an important role, and we have a lot of Cedarville graduates in the film and video side of our digital media major that have gone on to do projects like that, and it excites me. It's a really cool thing for them to be a part of.
And it's the perfect chance for us to remind folks that if your kid, your Christian kid, is interested in filmmaking, in art, in journalism, broadcasting, all those kind of things, Cedarville University is a place to go for that kind of thing, where Assistant Professor Sean O'Connor is a professor. What kinds of majors can folks have there in your department?
Sure. Yeah, we're part of a Department of Communication within a School of Business. It's an interesting arrangement that's pretty new to Cedarville, but we're excited about it. And so students in our program are learning journalism and audio and radio production and film and video. And they're going and making short films. They're being involved in television production and marketing with video for different organizations. There's a wide range of things that students can do.
All right. If you want more information, just go to cedarville.edu. Again, cedarville.edu. Assistant Professor Sean O'Connor in the Department of Broadcasting, Digital Media, and Journalism at Cedarville University. Thanks again for your time today.
Thank you, guys.